UFC 311 is in the books, and we got you covered live right here on Fight Bananas. I'm Jonathan Ramlikhan. We got Blake Schneiders in the house. UFC 311, absolutely epic start to 2025. Couldn't really ask for much better of a card. It started off a little slow with some of the early prelims, but it picked its way up into an incredible main card. But before we break that down, my man Blake, how you doing today, buddy?
I'll tell you what, Johnny boy, I am fantastic. I'm obviously joined by the most beautiful man and anybody who could commentate post-fight history, Jonathan Ramlakan. I'm just glad to be in your presence, brother, as always. But no, man, I'll tell you what, this was fantastic. Like you said, the early prelims there was a bunch of great fights, but I'll tell you what, I think everybody was getting a little tired of the decision after decision after decision after decision. So I'm glad that the main card finally brought us. I'm pretty sure every fight was a finish. So if I'm not mistaken, I think every fight was a finish. So that was fantastic. That brought everything to a culmination of, the peak. Got everybody really what they wanted, and this is the first main card of 2025. I know we did a short show last week, just kind of bringing everybody into 2025. And this is going to be a fantastic year for the UFC and mixed martial arts in general. But man, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to cover the fights tonight. It was an awesome card. There's a lot of things we got to break down. So, John, take it away.
Let's get right into it. So, if you guys did not get to catch the fight tonight, two title fights we had tonight. It was supposed to be Sarukian versus Islam Makachev. Arman ended up pulling out. Money Moicano steps up, but he does not get the job done. Islam Makachev in the first round secures a Darce choke, gets it done. In the co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili, absolutely incredible war with Umar Nurmagomedov. What an absolute showman Merab is, man. To be able to do what he did to a Nurmagomedov speaks volumes to what this man is absolutely made of. Incredible fight. Was the only fight to actually go to the decision on the main card, to your point, but it was so exciting. It didn't really feel like a decision with that one. And then before that, we had an epic war. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. This went a lot longer than I expected it to, and each moment of it was beautiful. Both guys had some of their moments. You saw that the inner warrior of Yuri Prohaska come out. You saw Jamal Hill look a lot better than he did in his past fights, coming off of the Achilles injury. So props to both guys. Yuri got the job done in the third round there. Jailton Almeida getting the win over Sergey Spivak with some beautiful grappling between both guys, actually, before he gets it done. And Reiner de Ritter, RDR, getting the job done over Kevin Holland. Breaks my heart a little bit that he gets, he's 1-4 in his last five. Kevin Holland is, but RDR, man, if you don't know, now you know. The man was a two-time champion over in one championship over on the other side of the globe, and now he's bringing that talent over to the UFC. But let's just kick it off right with the main event, man. This one was a little shorter, and it didn't have as much of a build-up as the main card or the main fight should have had with Arman Sarukian. But Money Moicano, he brings a lot of fanfare. He has an exciting style, Muay Thai, great Muay Thai striker, has Brazilian black belt in jiu-jitsu when it comes to that side of things too. So he did have a lot bringing to the table. He was supposed to fight Beneil Dariush coming in. So talking to a couple friends before, I was saying, hey, at least he was preparing for a wrestler, coming in. But there is levels when it comes to this shit, man. And Islam showed that the amount of preparation that he did for Beneil Dariush was not the type of preparation that you need for Islam Makachev. Able to get the job done in the first round, essentially after a little bit of a stand-up game, takes him down. Hanato sprawls, and he secures a Darce while he's sprawling. Beautiful win for Islam Makachev. Thoughts on the main event, my man?
The main event was a lot shorter than I would have loved, but obviously, I think pretty much expected by people. I mean, when Renato Moicano, sorry, Jesus, um, takes a fight on that such short notice, you can't be prepared for everything, and you won't. And guess what? He stunned him in the first round. I mean, the fight only went one round,
It
but
was actually a slip. Commentary broke it down. It was a slip because I thought it was a knockdown too, but he didn't really actually get knocked. It was a punch on the armpit, apparently.
all right, slip. I'll give him that. All right. Well, ruins all of my commentary then. No, I'm just kidding. I had half of it muted for some of the time because I was doing some other things, but um, I thought he looked good at first, but I mean, there's no way you can prepare for the type of fighter that Islam Makhachev is in that short notice. I mean, a couple days, if we're going to give him really a couple days, no, there's no way. Now, he's the type of fighter that I would absolutely love to step in last minute because he is so unpredictable. Moicano is unpredictable. You just really don't know what he's going to do. Also, he does have a good, I mean, hell, he's a black belt for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. All right. He's great on the ground. That doesn't mean he's great at stopping takedowns. That doesn't mean he's not going to mess up. But it is somebody who, on paper, you're like, hey, this guy at least has the credentials to maybe not just get lambasted, dominated by that type of Dagestani wrestling. At least that's the crack pipe thought in all of our minds when we go into this fight. Now, clearly that wasn't the case in this match because it just showed that one lack of preparation. You can't go up against Islam in that short of notice. Two, Islam solidified that, hey, this guy, and it's weird because I want to give Islam a ton of props for just showing that he is laminated, steel stamped, the man. I would like to see this match go back if he would have had a bunch of preparation, if Moicano would have had a bunch of preparation for it. I think it would have at least lasted longer. Would the outcome have changed? I don't know. I really don't know if it would have. I know Moicano is great on his feet, but then again, so is Makachev. He's very good. The thing about the Dagestanis is they're all very technical on their feet, but they use their stand-up game to set up the ground game. So at the end of the day, I don't think anybody expected anything differently. The champ is the motherfucking champ, baby. That's why he's the champ in the first place. And he put on a fantastic show. That Darce choke was slick. I mean,
Beautiful.
he took him down, got the choke, wrapped it up. It was smooth as butter, baby. It was nice. So there's no way I can be mad at anything that happened tonight. It kind of is what you expected it to be. Maybe your hopes was a little bit, maybe my hopes, I say that. Maybe my hopes were a little bit higher just because I really like Mone Mocano for the kind of fighter he is, maybe on and off the mic. But no, Islam Makhachev, man, got it done. Showed exactly who he is in the spotlight in front of everybody. UFC 311. It was fantastic. I think what's next? What's next for him? Who's the next challenger?
And that's the question, right? And I want to say what's up to our boy Sean,
What's up,
saying
Big
Islam the
Sean?
beast,
Always a
and
pleasure, brother.
saying that anybody makes 155, he does that. And then he's asking, does Islam get 3 fights in a year, Charles next, and then Arman or winner of Hooker and Gaethje? I think that's the question, right? How long does Arman need before coming into that?
Yeah.
And then,
And I
Derek
said
Page saying he was at the Lil Wayne concert and watching during intermission. I'm actually going to the Lil Wayne concert in about 5-6 weeks, so I'm super excited for that. Let me know how it was in the comments and what songs are there too, because Wayne is my goat, man. So super excited to see him. And yeah, definitely funny that Kevin Holland got choked out on the Dave's Chicken sign. I didn't actually notice that, so I'm gonna have to go check that out again. But just going back to the main event, with Islam Makhachev. Oh damn, I'm super excited for this now, man. Actually, but with Makhachev, man, just insane, right? It doesn't matter who he's going up against, and he's still able to get the job done
Yeah.
in dominant fashion, right? Like it's crazy because a lot of fighters they have to prepare for their opponent. You have to, in a way, you still have to give Makachev a lot of credit taking an opponent on short notice for his title, right? The unpredictability factor, like you said, that's the major thing that comes into play when you have a short notice fight, regardless of who it is. You saw that in
Yes.
the Billy Elikana fight versus Guskov, right? Billy was able to get the back of Guskov for pretty much most of the first round when he was a +6 +700 favorite. Now, granted, the fight didn't end up going Billy's way, but it was just one of those things where the element of surprise came into play, and that's something that you want to, um, make kind of use of a little bit more. Moicano did not get to do that. You saw a little bit of tentativeness. He was, throwing more single shots, wasn't able to stuff the takedown. And when he was trying to get back up, it was almost like predictive grappling that Islam did. Like he knew he
Yeah,
was going to go on his stomach and then went for the darts right away. Beautifully done by them. I think for him, the next one is if Arman gets back healthy, I want to see that fight. I
of
think
course.
fight you want to make. I've seen some people say, you do Moicano versus Arman. I think Arman has beaten enough top level fighters to put himself in a title contention. He's beat Charles Oliveira. He's beaten multiple other top guys as well. And I just think that I think Arman has to be the guy. I think Arman is, they could this fight, the fight that happened when they first fought and Arman took the fight on short notice was such an intriguing fight for both these guys in so young part of their careers. And you're going to see that again, right? Just at a more elite level with that aspect. And we got Chris J saying Merab is a beast. So let's get right into that, man, because that was really
Well,
the
hold on. Before we get into that, I wanna respond to Derek in the Derek. We appreciate you watching, brother. We appreciate you commenting. I want to say, yeah, your comment was another boring choke out by Islam, and I just have to push back on that, man. Boring. What's the boring part? The the overwhelming dominance, is that the boring part? Because to me, that's the part that makes it. I mean, okay, if you're going to say Tom Brady is boring because of his overwhelming dominance, well then I don't really know what to tell you, man. The guy is just running through people left and right, and he did it in a choke that is not as common as a guillotine, or it's not as common as
a rear naked
I
choke.
mean, an arm triangle might be a little less might be a little less common, but the the darts choke is one. It takes a lot of technique to get. You have to land in the perfect spot, and he worked his way into it. It wasn't like he fell into it. He worked his way into it, just like John said. He had very much tech. He had very good technique. It was almost as if he set it up, and that's hard to set up against a skilled elite level grappler. And he just beat a guy that was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu who should have known that was coming,
But it's
especially
hard,
against
right? Like you
the
said,
high
it's
level grappler that he is.
yeah,
Sorry,
but
go
the
ahead.
thing is, no, I was just gonna say when you have so many weapons to to have to defend against, that's what makes it hard because he
Exactly.
can choke you out so many different ways. He just reads it, right? He reads it on the fly like a quarterback, right? And he makes the decision, he reads the defense, and he makes his reads, and he's able to kind of just be surgical with it, right? So I agree with your point on there, man. And like you said, it's hard to say it's boring, right? It's tough, it's not as fun as like seeing a war, right? Obviously,
I mean,
but at the end of the day, that's what makes the, legend of Islam kind of what it is, that Habib camp, which makes this co-main event even more exciting, right? We had an
yes.
undefeated Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili, and Merab was, you know, Merab was actually the underdog in this fight. He was plus 250. Umar undefeated coming into this fight, and a lot of people had Umar winning this fight coming in. And for the first two rounds, in my opinion, Umar had the fight.
2-0.
Right, I think it was 2-0 Umar going into the third round, but you saw something in Merab that the confidence never wavered. Even as he was getting takedown, even as he was getting pushed up against or whatever may be, he was able to just do his thing. And Merab, just such an entertainer as well, right? Like he's just able to get the crowd excited because I think in the first round, maybe not as many people cared about this fight than when this fight finished because Merab, how he's able to draw fans into the fight by just ragdolling a Nurmagomedov and slamming him into the ground and then being able to take him into the top position, get a takedown on him a couple times. Is it the most takedowns in history now that Merab has? I
Yeah,
believe.
so he
So
beat George St. Pierre for the most takedowns in history.
absolutely insane. My man, Carlos Fierro, my boy, never can count Merab out. Hope you're doing well, brother, with that. Had it 49-46 from Merab. I think that typical. I think that's a better way to put Islam's performance. It's typical, right? Typical dominance. Same thing like you see from dominant champions, right? Just very typical performance from him. But with Merab, man, far from typical with what he's able to do. The gas tank this man has, absolutely elite. And his resume over his last 5 fights, just listen to this actually. he's got wins versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Before that, Sean O'Malley. Before that, Henry Cejudo. Previous to that, Peter Yan, and then before that, Jose Aldo.
How can you be mad at any of that resume?
That resume is insane. 5 former champions across multiple weight classes, and Merab is getting the job done. Granted, of course, all those guys weren't necessarily in their prime, but he still is just on a
Sean
generational run.
O'Malley is.
Yeah. Sean O'Malley is, and Peter Yan was,
I
right?
would say
Those
Peter
two
Yan
guys,
was, yeah.
right? But Cejudo and
The
Aldo,
two most relevant guys in that conversation. And again, Henry Cejudo, it was a double champ. Yeah, did he come back? Yeah, we can all say what we want about Henry Cejudo. You don't like his fighting style. You think he's cringe or whatever. He still has the credentials, and he didn't take much damage in a lot of those fights. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like the names that he beat are great, but two of those guys, Peter Yan and Sean Sugar Sean, they're in their primes. So he dismantled Sugar Sean, somebody that I'm a massive fan of, somebody that I had the crack pipe dream of thinking, oh, maybe he can beat him. No, when I watched that fight, I said, oh, I was way wrong. There's no way, and I should have known. But it's not until something happens where you're like, oh wow, this is. It's like the time that I played college football against Alvin Kamara, and I thought that, hey, we're on the same level. No, we're not. Turns out that guy was way better than me. And as soon as I knew it, was the first play of the game. I was like, this is not going to happen. So it was one of those fights where you're just like, okay, what does it matter? But anyway, that line of the last 5 fights is fantastic when you look at it. And then when you look at his fight tonight, I had Umar up 2-0 in the first 2 rounds. Okay. Then Merab won the 3rd round. Okay. Then he comes back and he wins the 4th round. Okay. It was another gear that you could clearly see. Umar Nurmagomedov got tired, and Merab seemed to gain energy as the longer that the fight went on. He planned for a 5-round fight. Umar seemed to gas out. Now, I think this was Umar's first 5-round fight, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember if he went with 5 with Corey. I'd have to look that up. But I
I don't think he went 5 with Corey.
No, I do believe you're
I
correct.
could be wrong, but I don't.
He did go 5 with Corey.
It went full 5. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So this is his second 5-round fight. Still has not gained the gas tank for it. Now, granted, you're also fighting Merab, who's a different beast. He is the machine. Is the Georgian machine, okay? But just there was something about him where the fans could see it, the broadcast could see it, me and my girl sitting at home could see it. He was gaining energy as he fought farther in the fight. That is something that is rare, and that is something that only comes from, guess what, a champion.
Yeah, and that championship heart, man, he showed it tonight. Like that level of heart and just grit and just determination, like mental fortitude. I don't know the exact word that you have to use to describe what Merab was able to do tonight, and for multiple fights, right? He's able to captivate the energy of the entire audience, the viewer, everybody in the building, and he uses that energy to fuel him in some type of way. It's crazy to say, but it almost seems like he uses that energy from the crowd when he's waving them on, when he gets takedown and he laughs, and he does things like he kisses his opponents on the shoulder, right? He just does the things like that. And this is a great point, right? He kind of didn't really, I wouldn't say he coasted in the first round. I think he more necessarily was feeling it out. Umar, crazy striker. If you guys haven't seen it, he's a Nurmagomedov, but this man can strike. Like his front leg is absolutely nasty with how fast he gets it up. But
his kicks are viper like on how fast they are, as well as his accuracy on his throws. And that's what I thought was interesting was Merab was able to throw off his accuracy the longer they went into the fight. I mean, if you guys have ever, like John said, if you guys have seen any of these guys, any of Umar's fights, the guy has precision and the speed on some of these things. He's not a typical Nurmagomedov. He's not just a Dagestani wrestler. The guy can throw hands. And there was a couple stops. I mean, if you look at if you were going to take the overall damage of the fight as your end all be all of who won, you would have taken Umar
Yeah,
because
the
you didn't
striking,
take any damage.
Umar won the striking 100%. There was a couple times in the 5th round, like, Merab clipped him with a beautiful right hand, but the overall striking battle was won by Umar.
Yeah, and he also caused the most damage. If you look, again, like we said, sometimes we wish damage would be taken into account. It's not. It doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. But if you look at the damage, you had Merab bleeding that entire fight, except that's not how you judge fights. And then Merab took over rounds 2, 3, and 4. I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6.
3,
3,
4, 5.
4, and 5. Sorry.
Sudden death 6th round, but man,
Yes.
incredible.
Kumite, 6th round.
Dude, I can imagine can you imagine with something like that? If we had like a split draw,
I would love that.
I would love to see something like that. Just call it to just a 6th round, no time limit, just get a finish. Whoever gets tired and whoever gets the finish wins. Like that's it.
No holds barred to the death.
That's it. Headbutts,
Battle Royale.
fish hooks, everything. But I don't even know who's next for Merab now. You know what I mean? I mean, Sean O'Malley, he's beaten Peter Yan. I mean, maybe Corey Sandhagen. He did lose to Umar, but he was someone that, steps up for the division. I don't know, man. It's tough to see who Merab fights next, but I do know whoever he fights next is probably going to get his ass kicked. He's probably just going to get slammed and get picked up to it as well. But another crazy fight on this card, man.
Cheeto.
Yuri Prohaska. Yuri Prohaska versus Jamal Hill. And this fight had me on the edge of my seat for pretty much most of the fight. It felt like it was one punch away from being over for 13 minutes until it actually was over. Jamal Hill came in looking a lot better. His hands were really sharp. He was working that jab, especially in the 2nd round. He had a really good job, working that jab solid. But Yuri Prohaska just did Yuri Prohaska shit, right? He was able to, even though he said he wanted to keep his hands up, he still dropped his hands and swung his head around a little bit. He really just did his thing, man. He was able to keep his head moving. Sean Sterling Hill opened up too much. I think you're talking about him overextending, right? And he was overextending on a lot of his punches, especially towards the later half of the 3rd round. And he started doing it, right? He had in that 2nd round, he was really staying within himself, but in the 3rd round, he overextended. Beautiful right hand by Yuri Prohaska puts Jamal down, and it seems like he wants Alex Pereira again. And maybe he learned something from those first 2 fights. But what did you see tonight, man, from Yuri Prohaska? And what was your reaction to watching that fight?
I mean, I think you highlighted already a big portion of it. I think Jamal came out with a great game plan. Was landing his jabs, was landing his strikes right off the bat. 1st round. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I have been wrong before. Was it Jamal that dropped Yuri, or did Yuri drop Jamal in the 1st round?
Yuri dropped Jamal.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. So Yuri dropped Jamal in the 1st round, but Jamal looked really good in that 1st round. That 2nd round came around again. I think Jamal was in that round started bleeding from the nose a little bit, started breathing from the mouth a little bit. Yuri did drop his hands, but what is Yuri's whole game plan based off of? It's based off explosion. It's based off of what he can do when somebody messes up. And you saw that in the 3rd round. After the 1st and 2nd round, Yuri was able to get Jamal overextending. He got tired. He was reaching, and that's exactly where he landed that right hand punch. He hit him with the left hand jab, got him to swing with his left hand, and then came right over the top of it. Boom, with his right, clocked him. I mean, set him down. And forgive me, but I thought the knee pads make Jamal look a little old. Made him look a lot older than he really was. But no, Yuri, that overextension, that exhaustion, really allowed Yuri to land those types of hits and that explosion, because he brought that hand from low and he brought it up over the top. And that's where Jamal just didn't even see it coming.
Yeah, and it's hard to see it coming because, I think this puts it perfectly. He likes to capitalize on chaotic situations, right? But he creates this chaos, and he creates the fight or flight reaction inside most fighters who all, for most periods, for most fighters, they're able to quell that and they're able to, have their thoughts, really kind of feel in for that. But he elicits that fight or flight reaction out of most fighters, causing them to panic in some manner or overextend in some manner, and then he makes them pay. And I think that's where, someone like Alex Pereira, he doesn't panic, right? He keeps calm in all of those situations. That's why he's really like kryptonite for someone like Yuri, because that the mind game is way different with someone like Alex Pereira. So with Yuri Prohaska, do you think he's next for Alex? I think the only way we really see that third fight is if Magomed Ankalaev beats Alex Pereira, right? Because then you could put Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska, call it a number one contenders fight, although they probably just would run it back straight for the dominance that Alex Pereira has had in that division as well. But
Yeah.
I think that's really the only way to see it. It's tough when you have a fighter that's 0-2 against someone and they're asking for that third fight, right? It's that Rob Whittaker, Adesanya kind of thing.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even. I think it's unfortunate because it's like, well, who else are you going to put up there? Yuri is number 2 right now. He got the win tonight over Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill got the loss for Pereira. Okay, so Magomed's the only one who hasn't gotten the opportunity. So if he does and loses, I think Yuri's the only one you really can put up there because he's coming off of a win over number 3. He's number 2. Magomed loses. Does that make him number 2 now? Like it's kind of a weird situation and almost kind of extrapolates a bigger point in the lightweight division where there's kind of a void right now. There's kind of a void of guys who seem to be on Pereira's level that can go up against him who haven't lost yet. You know what I mean? It's guys who, okay, it's either guys who maybe don't necessarily deserve it. I mean, are you gonna throw up Rakic? Are you gonna throw up Olberg? Are you gonna throw up Roundtree?
I think
Because we
Sean puts up a really good point. If John versus Ulberg, because obviously the fun storyline in that one, right, is Ulberg being Adesanya's teammate, getting the revenge for Adesanya, fighting, Alex
yeah,
Pereira. But, if he beats Jan Blachowicz, Ulberg does, I think that's great. That puts him enough, right? You beat a former champion. Everybody else in that
yes.
top 4 or 5 have already lost to the champ. You put yourself in that spot, kind of like how Khalil Roundtree did at number 8. You know what I mean? So I could see Ulberg getting the chance after if he beats Jan Blachowicz.
Well, and that's the weird thing though. We're all of these moves are 2 moves ahead. There's nobody's waiting in the wings to take on Pereira. Like it's either guys who have lost or guys who need to have success and make 2 moves ahead to get that win. So it's kind of an odd position for the light heavyweight division.
It really
I'm
is.
sorry, the lightweight division
No, like you're right, light heavyweight division. Yep,
or
yep, you
light
got it
heavyweight
right.
division.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
but it almost has always been, right? It's almost been like, since John Jones has left the division, it's felt a little bit void of kind of just more than one person or more than a few people at the top. It's a very top heavy division, right? You
Yes.
have a top heavy part and then it's a gap and then you have a really stacked a good amount of up and comers. So there's that gap in the middle because he's beaten everybody already. That really makes that a lot harder, So
I
that's
just want to see Alex Pereira versus Johnny Walker because I would love to see another new way Johnny Walker could get knocked out.
kind of like Anthony Taylor did. I think that's his name against Darren Till. I do agree. I actually had Jan. I had Jan winning that fight against Alex Pereira. That first time they fought, I think Alex Pereira got the rub just to go face, uh, go
Oh,
fight
of course.
there. But I do think Jan won that fight actually with that one. But any love you want to show to Halton Almeida versus who was the boy that he fought?
Sergey Spivak.
Spivak, right? It was a pretty solid fight. Nothing really to ride home about. Almeida just showing kind of more striking, right? Which I think is what you want to see out of someone who is really known for his grappling. Was able to get the reversal on some of the takedowns that Spivak was able to get. Spivak looked really good too, right? He actually was able to start off the fight with the takedown. But I'm curious, what do you think is in the future for Almeida? Do you think that, having that loss against Derek Lewis and having some of that, maybe going through the ringer, really rebuilding yourself as a fighter. Do you think that makes him a legitimate threat for the heavyweight division a couple fights down the line?
I think it does. I mean, he beat Sergey Spivak, so you got 6 and 7 that just beat each other. I'd like to see, I mean, I don't think it's going to be a high rise real quick. I think if anything, do you give him a similar matchup versus Pavlovich, or do you say, hey, go fight Curtis Blades? Because Jalan Almeida, from what we've seen, does have a really pretty solid ground game, and so does Curtis Blades. So is it one of those where you're like, hey, I want to see a matchup versus matchup, or do I want to see you fight a guy two spots above you, but who is maybe a little bit better on the feet than Spivak was, to see if you can replicate that kind of success?
Yeah, I
And
mean, he
so
lost to
I don't
Curtis
think
Blades
he
a
can
couple
jump
fights
very
ago.
high, but I think he's a guy who's steadily climbing right now, who's building his repertoire, his talent, fight by fight, and is somebody that I could eventually see in the future maybe fighting for. I mean, look, John Jones is going to vacate his title here, whether regardless of who he fights, it's going to be gone. So I assume then the belt is going to go to Aspinall once he earns it, right?
Well, Aspinall would just become the champion by default, I would assume.
Well, yeah, but then I'm saying once he officially earns it, because
Like
I assume that
when he wins the
Aspinall is
next
going to
fight,
earn
like
it
when he
eventually.
wins his next fight versus
Yes,
whoever, when he defends it for the first time, that's like technically,
exactly.
I got you.
Once he defends it, okay. Well, Almeida's going to be on his way up at that point. Cyril Gahn, I think, has kind of been stagnant. I think there's some holes in Cyril Gahn's game, and maybe a lot of mental issues with maybe a confidence issue. I think there's a lot of people who've kind of figured out his game. Yes, he's a intimidating stature like figure, but shit, man, it's the fucking heavyweight division. Everybody's intimidating at the stature like figure. I mean, Alexander Volkov could maybe beat Cyril Gahn. I don't know. Like it's one of those where it's like I could see Almeida slowly making his way up and one by one picking these guys apart. Is he going to be one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time? I don't see it, but I think he's definitely got a shot to at least compete for a heavyweight title at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think your matchup, I think him versus Blades, he actually, he lost to Blades a couple fights ago, but to maybe get that one back after Blades lost to Aspinall, that would be a good rematch, right? So you'll see
Yeah,
how he tests out against that one. I would like to see maybe one more fight before they throw that rematch back, just because it was just, at this point, it would be 2 fights previous, right?
yeah.
But yeah, I do think that he has the potential, especially with what we saw with the striking today, is into that. So Islam said he will show anyone, so I'm going to try to cut like 60 pounds. If you actually on my Instagram story yesterday morning on my Instagram story, I weighed on the scale at 155. So I at UFC and I at Dana White just in case Moicano pulled out, I was able to walk in and if they wanted to fly me through because I do sit at about 155 right now. Put on
You
5 pounds.
really
Yeah, put on.
155.
That's all I weigh, bro. I'm a light boy.
Do you know how much I weigh, John? Because I don't think you can tell between our two screens.
I think let's see. I know you got some height on me. You said you play football,
Not
so I know
not much, but
you got legs for sure. I would say like what 190.
try like 216.
Dang. It's not bad,
But
bro.
it's
But
all
you
fat, dude. I'm a fat fuck, so I
nah,
don't
you're
even.
chilling, bro. You're chilling. But I said at 155. I put on 10 pounds the last like 10 days or 5 pounds the last
if
10 days.
if you
So
guys don't know, go follow Jonathan Round the Count. Shout out your Instagram real quick because this man is in the gym constantly. He's a trainer. If you guys did not know, he is a physical trainer first and foremost. He'll get you jacked in a minute. I've been pining to have him train me, but he said he doesn't work with fat boys. But no. But no, this dude's in the gym, he's jacked, man. I'm telling you. There you go. Follow Jonathan on Instagram, man. He is in the gym constantly and let alone his Instagram stories will give you some motivation.
try to, man. Try to just keep it going. Just
Always,
stay
brother.
consistent. You know what I mean? If these fighters
Got
are
to give you the
staying.
shout out. Got to give you
Yeah, I
the shout out.
appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, my boy. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, if those fighters are in there, actually, I spent what like I think 23 minutes in the sauna today, just because you think about the amount of time those fighters are sitting in the sauna. It's not as bad, especially when I'm allowed to have some water at least when I'm in the sauna when those guys can't. So definitely got to take care of your body, guys. It's the most important thing. You only get one body at the end of the day. You don't wait till your car breaks down to go take it at the shop. So
Shout out to Sean. Sean, I played football. I played college football at middleweight. So let's just say there's been a lot of beer and pizza since then.
I ate a whole half pizza tonight, by the way, so I was proud of myself for that. But let's get into this opener here. We had Kevin Holland dropping one against Blake the Ritter on that one. Or Reiner de Ritter, sorry, with that one. Reiner de Ritter, like I said, if you guys didn't know, coming in multiple time champion over at one championship, dominates Kevin Holland with ease. It's one of those fights where Kevin Holland fighting at 185 when it really seemed like he shouldn't, right? This was one of those fights where the size advantage was very apparent. And I think for someone like Reiner de Ritter, you definitely want to keep your eye on someone like that. You know what I mean? But have a tough time against Merab to get to fight Pantoja. Yeah, I don't know if I can make 125 at this frame, bro. Like, I might be able to. I'm like 5'7" on a good day. So, I mean, maybe, who knows? I can cut down some of this weight. But yeah, no way I'm fucking fighting Merab. But I don't know. If I had to take pick my poison, Merab or Pantoja, I'd probably go with
Pantoja, I
Pantoja.
guess.
Yeah, I mean, actually, no. I would go with Merab. I'd take my chance with that. I would just be on my bike the whole time with that boy. So I feel like Pantoja probably has a little bit more knockout power. To be honest, I feel like he would knock me out. Plus, I'd be at a lighter weight class. We're getting off topic. What did you like what you saw with Reiner de Ritter tonight, man?
Sorry, the comments are killing me right now. Man, I'll tell you what, the Kevin Holland thing is just disappointing because I think Kevin Holland is a fan favorite because you like his personality. You know what I mean? Obviously, you like his fighting style. I mean, the guy has one of the most miraculous wins of all time versus oh boy, the Brazilian,
The alligator.
Yeah, you know who I'm
Jacare.
talking about.
Jacare Souza.
Yeah, Jacare Souza. That knockout that he had for Jacare, I think, is still cemented in everybody's mind. So it's like this guy can do anything. He's lanky, he's wild, he says crazy shit. He's a fan favorite. Like, fighting at 185, he went up last year to 185.
He bounces up and down because when he first got,
Yeah,
he was at 185. He fought guys like fucking Thiago Santos back in the day. You know, he's fought
yeah.
some big dudes.
So he's one of those guys that like he's almost got that Donald Cerrone type. I'll fight anybody at any time, doesn't matter. But it's about capitalizing now. Are you going to do it? Are you going to be successful when you do that? You can say you're going to do that, but if you continuously get losses, and I believe, like you said, he was 1 of 4 in his last 4 fights, or 1 and 4 in his last 5 fights.
Yeah, he lost against Roman Dolidze. Last
Yeah.
fight, he beat Michael Olajacek. Lost against MVP. Lost against JDM. You know, which those are guys are, you know, JDM. He's a top 5 contender now. Top,
Yeah. But I don't want to see Kevin Holland become a gatekeeper. That's not somebody who I want to see him become because I still think he's young enough to put on a great resume. I think everybody thinks in athletics it's 28, 29. That's really when your peak hits, or 25, 26, 27. Those are when your peak hits. But it's been proven time and time again in MMA, it's not until you hit your 30s. Well, he's in his 30s. I don't want to see him now become a gatekeeper. I want to see Kevin Holland continue on the trajectory that he had. And this is not becoming of him. And you know what? Forgive me, Reiner de Ritter. I was unfamiliar with your work, good sir. My apologies, because that was impressive. So my bad. You know what? Appreciate you. Thank you for schooling me. Thank you for schooling me tonight. I didn't know that. So I think this is a giant win for him. This is no takeaway from de Ritter. And we're all saying that, right? I know he got on Joe Rogan. He was like, hey, you said my name right. Most Americans don't know how to say it. It's not that fucking hard. Come on, man. Anybody who knows the sport, we pronounce Nurmagomedov. All right, we can pronounce the Ritter.
Olajacek.
Yeah, Olajacek. Yeah, it doesn't even fucking look the same. Anyway, getting off topic. But no, huge props to him. I think he's somebody that we're all going to have to look out for. He just put the UFC on notice for sure. But I'm a little disappointed in Kevin Holland. I think that was you got to win your next fight, man. You have to.
Yeah,
If you
it
don't win your
almost did
next
feel like
fight,
his next
I
fight.
guarantee there's going to be a conversation between you and Dana about keeping you on the roster. I mean, even if you're a fan favorite, we've seen fan favorites get cut. It just happens. You have to keep your spot here. So I think this is a bigger tell for Holland than it is for DeRitter. DeRitter just put himself on notice. Great. That's awesome. You should. That's what you should be doing. Nobody knows who you are. You're coming from a different organization. This is exactly what you should be doing. Holland, you got a big road ahead of you, man. You better fucking suck it up.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think he does have to win, you know, his next fight. You know, you can't be 1-5 in your last 6
Can't.
fights. That's how you end up, you know, getting cut. You know, you saw Michael or Clay Guida getting cut recently, right?
Yeah.
You've seen other fighters getting cut. You know, there's other organizations out there, obviously, that you can go fight for, but um, yeah, it's a tough road. You know, if you're just going to continue to lose, as entertaining as you are, I think for you to win as to be as competitive as you want to be able to actually win fights, you need to have the discipline to cut to about 170. You know what I mean? So definitely tough to see him lose that one. Couple of the prelims I want to touch on. Obviously, our boy Grant Dawson getting the win over Diego Ferreira. Diego super game fighter, man. Had, you know, Grant definitely challenged a lot. There was some moments where those guys just started throwing hands and really put defense to the back seat. And you know, I wanted to say Grant's striking looked a lot better than it did. I feel like you're starting to see that striking just improve a little bit more. You know, the dominance in the ground and pound you knew was there. Like you said, Diego did a really good job kind of challenging Grant in a lot of the things you want to see as him fighting a veteran fighter as well. But what did you like out of what you saw from Grant tonight, man?
Man, I thought it looked great. I mean, obviously Grant Dawson, L. Dawson, his wife, big contributors here on Fight Bananas, staples of Fight Bananas, really. I've known Grant from when his Grant and L from their time back here in Kansas City. Obviously, they've moved to Florida now, and they're doing their own thing, and they're thriving right now, and I love it. I thought Grant looked great. I was super excited for this fight. I knew this was going to be a tough opponent. Fajeda is just a dog. Like, he's one of those guys that you do not want to fuck around with. If you go in there without a game plan, if you go in there trying to just, hey, this is a guy, we're going to go in there, we're going to fight, blah, blah. No, he's going to get you. He's going to get the best of you because he is a dog. I thought Grant had a very good game plan. I mean, I think the total, he had over 6.5 minutes of control time, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had 250 the first and second round, both rounds, 250 in each round. So I believe he was up over 6 at the end of the fight, which good for him for controlling the fight the way he wanted to. When they did get on their feet, when they were not in the clinch, they were striking with each other. I think Grant's striking looks a lot better. I think he has. That's what I mean. Everybody knows he can wrestle. There is no doubt that this guy can wrestle. It was how can he defend and how can he strike, and he has shown improvement from fight to fight to fight. Grant looked really good. He went in there, did exactly what he needed to do to get this win, not only versus control time, but also with significant strikes and on the fight on his feet. So this is exactly what Grant needed to do. I really want to see him in the top 15 soon. He's one of those guys that has a ton of talent. And you know, he's in a tough division though, man. He's in a tough division. But I think he's one of those guys that it has the grit to learn as he goes. And each fight he tends to get better and better and better. So I'm excited to see. He's on a 3-fight win streak now. I'm excited to see who they give him next. I'd love to see him ranked in the top 15, and I'd love to see who they give him next just to see if they can up his game and continue his growth.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of his game right is continuing his growth, right? We know how good the ground game is. I want to see his striking continue to get better, right? I want to
Yes,
see
of
his,
course.
you know, just continue to develop in on that aspect of it because that's what's going to make him a legitimate title challenger and legitimate title threat when it comes to him continue to be. Oh yeah, that's a great point too. Would love to see you get him in the video game. Would be have him all
Yes, I would love to.
5 stars on the grappling and on the wrestling for him on that one. Prelims, just a couple that I want to touch on. Outside of that, shout out to Eileen Perez beating Carol Hosa. She was excellent, against a tough competitor, Carol Hosa. Obviously, if you didn't know, she fought Irene Aldana, gave her that nasty cut as well. So, game fighter for her. Haoni Barcelao with the fraud check against Peyton Talbot, man. And I was really surprised on this one. I thought Talbot was going to be able to come in here, starch Haoni. I knew Haoni was good, but I just didn't think he was going to be able to implement his game plan as well as he did
He was
tonight.
dominant.
Absolutely
He was
dominant.
dominant.
Thoughts on that one?
Talbot had no answer for his ground game. I mean, there was no answer for Talbot. He didn't even. And again, we're both just people talking online. Who cares? What does our opinion matter? But honestly, I was a little surprised that Peyton Talbot did not have an answer for him on the ground, and that's why Ione was able to get him down so much because he knew you're not a threat. And that, I think, just surprised me more than anything. I expected Talbot to be at least able to give him more fight, at least continue transitioning. And a lot of times it looked like he couldn't get out of the position that he was in. And that was surprising. So I don't know if that spoke to more of the lack of game plan from Talbot or just the excellent expertise and execution of game plan versus Paoni.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's a little bit of both, right? I think Haoni kind of came in with a more versatile game plan. Like, okay, I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna be able to take this kid, to my fights to the advantage. You know what I mean with
Yeah.
my fight, right? Find where I can find the advantage and continue that. And like you said, he wasn't, Peyton. I think he was able to get up from one takedown in the third round, right? When he was able to reverse it and actually end up on top
Yeah.
the third round, but outside of that, really not much answers once he was on his back, right? He wasn't
Yeah.
able to work his way up, wasn't able to get some posture, build his height, build a base, do any of it, right? You didn't see him work up or try to fundamentally work himself up, even though he got choked out. We saw Money Moicano try to work himself up, right? He was still trying to sprawl and get back up. And yeah, it was a tough position to see him in. But overall, man, this card actually was really good. I felt like it built itself up almost like a movie where the climax was right towards the end. I think Merab versus Umar was the climax of the entire card. And then
I
you had a
agree.
little bit of a resolution and kind of, a little bit of a prologue, right? Or epilogue, right? With
You had the
Islam.
ending scene credits, the cutscenes.
The cutscenes, exactly. You had the cutscene credits with Islam just choking out Moicano. But final thoughts on the card, my man, here before we close it out.
Man, first major card of the year. I was pleased with it. Like like we've talked about, I think there was a lot of we got to see a lot of fights. Okay, there was a bunch of decisions in the prelims. That's fine because we got to see a lot of fighters that a lot of people and maybe are a little less familiar with. We got to see a ton of their action because nothing ended quickly. Now, granted, that's not what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see finishes, knockouts, submissions, and that's the meat and potatoes of everything. But we got to see a lot of ring time or octagon time from the undercard fighters, and then we got to see a ton of knockouts on the main card or a ton of finishes on the main card. And I think that's ultimately what you want to see. You want to see that on the main card, and they delivered. The only decision was the Umar versus Dvalishvili fight. So really, I really think that this was a perfect starting card for 2025. You got a little bit of everything. You got great performances in the main card. And then you also got a ton of octagon time that you got to see fighters who you're going to be watching in the future on the undercard. So I think it's a great start to 2025 so far.
Absolutely. And it's only going to continue getting better. The next card that we have coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend, Israel Adesanya, right, versus Imavov in a fight night. Fight. Obviously, MVP is going to be on that card as well. Terrence McKinney. Shout out to Terrence McKinney. I think he became a father today, a girl dad. So shout out to Terrence McKinney. always super friendly. Lucas Alexander training right out of Fusion Excels fighting on that card as well. So that's going to be a fun one. And then Duplessis versus Strickland too. We're going to have that, and Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. So excellent start to the year, man. We got a lot of fun cards coming up here soon. You know we're going to keep you locked in. Obviously, Dave was keeping you guys here with the live stream during on with the watch along. So we appreciate you guys all throughout the fights, keeping it locked in right here on Fight Bananas. We'll make sure that we will always be here whenever you guys need us, because just like the Titanic, we're here for you, right? And we will be there for you at the end of the night. So I don't know how that reference works together. It's
how that reference works at all. The Titanic sunk, bro.
Just like the iceberg, we will be long standing and there for you. Right?
There you go. So, see, there you go. That way to wrap it up.
We keep it rolling here. It's 2:14 a.m. I'm crashing out. I'm getting a little tired. We had a great night here. UFC 311 is in the books. From Blake and myself, thank you as always for joining us. Derek, Sean, our boy Christopher J, thank you as always for being here in the comments.
Appreciate you boys always.
We'll see you guys after the next fight.